not wearing glasses. I'm the odd one out.
And with that, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 157 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I am your moderator, Wade Finnegan, and my co-panelists are Erica Conroy, that has no glasses, and I love to say this name. I haven't said it for a long time. Xavier Granville,
who does have glasses. Hello, internets.
And our very special guest, we brought her back because she was so good, is Jasmine Walt.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. Nice glasses.
Nice glasses, Jasmine. Looking good. So, if you guys recall, we had Jasmine on, back at the end of June. And she is the new adult author that we talked kind of a little bit about that, but this time around we're bringing her back because she did some really cool things with some box sets, and I don't know if it was actually declared first here on the show, but she hinted at becoming a bestseller, and gosh darn it, she did it. So that was pretty awesome. So we wanted to pick her brain about how all that went and everything that went on behind the scenes, and then of course we'll still chit-chat about writing and all that other good stuff too. So, Jasmine, thank you so much for coming back on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great being here again.
Cool. So we had you on not too long ago, but it's been a little while. Can you maybe give us a little bit of what has been going on in Jasmine's world since the last time we talked?
That was like a month ago, right?
Yeah, a little over a month ago. Actually, almost 2 months ago.
2 months ago, yeah. It's August now. Well, probably since then, I've gotten book 4 in my series out. I call it new adult fantasy, but really my readers call it urban fantasy. And I've got 4 books out in the series. I just came out with the first book in a second urban fantasy series. I recently published a box set, which, as you know, made maybe you don't know, made the New York Times and USA Today bestseller lists. And actually, the first book in my new urban fantasy series, Shadowborn, also made the New York Times and USA Today bestseller list. So I've done it with a box set and a solo title now.
Awesome.
Yeah. Basically.
Way awesome.
Double awesome.
I didn't mean to cut you off. So was there anything else going on in your life besides that?
Well, there's lots, but I mean, that's probably, the important stuff. I've got, I've always working on new books. I've got 2 series. I've got other stuff planned. But that's the gist of it. That's what's happened since we last talked.
Perfect.
Those are all good things.
Those are all
very
good things.
Especially with the span of 2 months. That's good.
Yeah, it actually kind of makes me feel bad about my non-productivity, but that's okay.
Don't worry, Wade. We feel bad too.
Yeah,
you don't feel bad. Summer. I'm a little bit of a freak, so I'm not normal.
A good freak, though, to get on bestseller lists.
Yes, that is a good thing.
It's still a little bit surreal, to be honest, because I always thought New York Times was impossible or near impossible for an indie. So finally grabbing that title, not once but twice in 1 month, has been something else.
That's really cool. So how did the idea come about for the Magic and Mayhem box set? How did you start that whole process? Well,
I feel like I somewhere back in January, February, beginning of this year. My friend and now fellow co-author, Rebecca Hamilton, she does box sets all the time, but they're always romance or paranormal romance, and a lot of the box sets I've been seeing on Amazon or at that time were all in that category, mostly romance, the bare-chested werewolves and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking, I can't get in on that with my books because they have romance in them, but they're not romances. RWA wouldn't even accept my books, wouldn't accept me as a pro member, even though I'm a PAN member, but I'm not a pro member because even though my books have a romantic subplot, kind of like J.D. Robs and Death series. They're not a romance, so I couldn't really get in on any of that. And I was thinking, well, maybe I should create a similar opportunity for fantasy authors. And that's how I came up with Magic and Mayhem.
Cool.
Nice, nice. Xavier, you want to do the next question on that one?
Sure.
Find the author?
Yeah, why not? How did you find authors to take part of the bundle? Were they mostly friends and people that you know? Like you already mentioned, your co-author. Was it most people that you and her knew, or was there like a vetting process? Was there elimination rounds involved?
Well, yeah, there's a little bit of all of that. Basically, Rebecca was in my box set, but she was also kind of like my consultant because she's done so many of them. And having her was very helpful because she's done so many. So when I was approaching people, they were like, "Oh, Rebecca's helping, so that means it must be legit." Because even though like I was selling well, nobody really knew who I was. So it was a matter of, I basically, it was a combination of approaching people on K-boards. So I put up a thread on K-boards. There's also a group, Facebook group called Box Set Opportunities, so I posted it there. I asked it my Facebook friends. I had Rebecca ask her friends. And between all that, I basically had people fill out a form, with all their details, what book they wanted to submit. And the most important thing, honestly, other than having a good book, that was like the number one thing, but the second thing was having a mailing list that was like large enough for me to consider it acceptable, because those mailing lists were key for our launches, like trying to get like hundreds of sales on the first day and kind of boosting our rankings so that we could catch the algos, as they say.
How many submissions do you think that you had?
Probably had like 30. And I had to, maybe 40. I think I probably had 40, and I had to narrow it down to 22 people, basically.
Why 22?
Yeah.
Well, I originally wanted, it was originally going to be 21, but one of the books was co-authored, so it ended up being 22. I don't know why exactly, but like it could have been 20 or 19. But pretty much the bigger the box set is, the more appealing it is. Because what we're trying to do mostly is make a list. So like if you have 21 novels for 99 cents, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Anybody who likes fantasy is going to pick that up. So I was trying to just get like a huge collection together. And I also wanted like a variety. I didn't want it to just all be urban fantasy. Like I had some epic fantasy, I had some steampunk, I had like, dragons and shifters, and there's some that are more romancy, and there's some that are more sword and sorcery. So I felt like it was like a really well-rounded collection that kind of could appeal to anybody who likes fantasy. Which would have been harder if we'd only done like 5 books, for example.
True.
So that's a lot of people to divide money amongst. How did that work out with the royalties and stuff? I could see that being a lot of conflict. Or was there a payment, or how?
Well, we haven't had any royalty payments go out yet because the set just came out. Excuse me. August 2nd, so we're not going to see any money for another 60 days after the end of this month. But what I did was I asked everybody to, I required a buy-in fee because we needed to pay for the cover and we needed to book, a bunch of ads. And I actually ended up asking for additional money because we invested a lot into Bookbub ads, not like, a Bookbub feature, but the actual Bookbub advertising program, and we invested quite a chunk of change into that in order to push us up into. I think we ended at 15,000 sales. That's basically what it took to make number 13 on the New York Times list.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a huge. It was almost a nightmare at times, because it's not just about the money. It's about herding. It's like herding cats, trying to manage 20 other authors and getting assigning everybody tasks. Because I had certain people doing the formatting, and other people designing graphics, and other people, arranging blog tours, and all that kind of stuff. But it worked out. It worked out. We pulled it off, and it was really amazing. I mean, everybody for days, like for weeks. Has it been weeks? It hasn't been weeks, but it's going on weeks. They're still kind of in shock about it, how well it turned out.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised, right? But still,
Yeah.
So when that royalty check does come, who does it go to, and how does that work out?
Right, that was the question. So it basically goes through my company, and then I basically take off the top any fees associated with my accountant, or box set management fees, because I did have Rebecca consulting on it, and then the rest of it gets split 20 ways essentially, and that's how we do it. So probably like I would say probably everybody based off how sales are going right now, if it stays, probably by the end of the 6 months or so that we'll have it up, everybody would make about $5,000 or $6,000 off the set when it's all divided.
That's pretty nice. That's
and
that's better than nice, actually.
It's a nice bonus.
Yeah. So was it pricing wise? You priced it at 99 cents for the whole time, or
just for the pre-order period and the first week? Now it's $2.99. I've thought about experimenting, but honestly, it's doing so well that I don't really feel the need to raise the price. It's getting over 100,000 page reads a day in Kindle Unlimited, so I can't really complain about that. But yeah, we did 99 cents for the pre-order period and for release week, so that we could book all those ads. And then we did Bookbub ads for the last couple weeks, because that wasn't available. Like, we didn't even know that was a thing until they rolled out the beta program, and Rebecca got approved for an ad account. And we were like, whoa, we should try this. And it's expensive. Like, don't get me wrong. It's like anywhere on a good day, it's 50 cents a sale probably, but it was worth it because we were trying to make the list. We originally weren't expecting to go for New York Times, but by the time the Bookbub ads were coming out, and based off how well we were doing, I knew that by the end of release week we were probably going to be somewhere around 9,000 or 10,000 sales. And I figured if we could just push for another 5,000 or so, that it was worth trying.
Can you talk a little bit more about those Bookbub ads? 'Cause I don't know if all of our viewers would be up to date on what Bookbub is offering.
Basically, it's it's kind of like Facebook ads a little bit. What it is they send out their regular emails, and at the bottom of the email there's a little square. I don't know, it's like 300 by 600 or so ad. And you can put any kind of image there, but it's like really low res, so you try not to do any text. And you can target the ads by genre or by author. So you can do it like by urban fantasy, or you could take a bunch of urban fantasy authors and put them in a list and target all of those. And you can do indies too, because there's lots of indies on Bookbub that have accounts. We found that, if you dump in around 50 or 100 different authors, it works pretty well. Unlike with Facebook, where you want to just stick to one. If you dump in a whole bunch, you tend to get better results. So it was interesting. We had to do a lot of experimentation with it, but that's how we probably got our extra 5,000 sales or so that we needed.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Erica. You can go next one.
So did you form some kind of a contract, or was it very informal?
No. I had everybody sign contracts. because there's like copyright issues involved where like, you know, I don't want somebody coming over and saying, hey, you have my book illegally. And actually it was good because Amazon has been verifying copyright on box sets recently. I got like a notification maybe like 2 or 3 days before release asking for proof. And so I basically just sent them all 21 contracts, and they were like, okay. I don't even know if they read them. They were like, yeah, okay. But it's important to have that stuff in order, because if someone bails, if someone changes their mind, if someone gets angry. I had a couple people bail on me because like they didn't. One person was like not comfortable with the fact that we were asking other authors to do buy trades, which is basically like where they buy our book and then we buy their book. Like, because we were trying to, because you have to get at least 500 sales on, you know, an additional platform to Amazon to make it. And we were trying to like push past and get those extra sales, and we were trying to do everything we could until Bookbub ads came along. That helped out a lot because you can target by platform also. Okay. So you can target Nook people specifically, or iBooks people specifically. But before that, we were kind of like, we were at like 250 Nook sales. We were like, Jesus, we have like a month left. We got to figure out how to get another 250 sales. So we were like trading with other people and other box sets. And one of our authors was like, I don't feel comfortable with that. It feels like cheating. And I was like, I don't know how that's cheating. Like, other authors ask their friends to buy their books all the time. But whatever. I mean, I guess some people just have things they're not comfortable with.
At least there wasn't like a sweatshop involved where with a LAN computer set up of, you know, thousands of people logging in and
like buying the book.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
it sounds very complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we didn't do that. I feel like we were pretty legit for the most part. So I feel like we earned it.
You mentioned issues, the copyright issues with Amazon. Now I know that you guys had some other issues with Amazon during the pre-order. Do you want to explain to everyone what happened there?
Do I have to? I'm just. No, it was just that what happened was we had books that were not out of Kindle Unlimited yet, that like were still in their enrollment period, and we were just waiting for them to get out of the enrollment period because the first week the box set is wide. So so basically somebody found out that we were planning on using books in the box set that were still in Kindle Unlimited because they hadn't come out yet, and they reported us. And they were like, you can't do that, blah blah blah. And it was a dick move, honestly. Like we weren't like trying to game the system. It wasn't like people who are pre-ordering the box set could actually read those titles while they were in Kindle Unlimited. So like I guess technically it's like a no-no, but honestly I don't think Amazon would have cared if somebody hadn't like made a thing out of it. So basically we just had to say that we just had to take down all the titles and say that we weren't using them until they were out of Kindle Unlimited. And some people changed which titles they were using. So we basically just said, this is like, it's a fantasy box set, these are the authors, and we just couldn't say which titles because some of them were still in Kindle Unlimited. And that's what happened, is the gist of it.
Okay. And you got past it.
Yeah, but like I had like a couple people bailed because they just didn't want to they just were scared. I mean, it's understandable. It was scary. Like the box set got taken down. We lost like 1,200 pre-orders. I had to go through this whole thing to get it back. The box set getting taken down actually didn't have anything to do with the Kindle Unlimited issue. It had to do with me putting in the subtitle that some of the authors were best-selling authors. Apparently you're not allowed to do that, and it kind of slipped my mind because I've seen tons of other box sets that do it, and I didn't really think it was keyword stuffing, but apparently it is, and Amazon considers that misleading. So I contacted Amazon and I said, hey, I thought it was fine because, you know, that's the subtitle on my cover, and as long as the subtitle on my cover matches the subtitle on my product description, it should be okay, right? And they were like, yeah, it's cool, my mistake. But it turned out that they had sent me to the wrong department. So then the other department was like, what? She didn't take it, she didn't fix it, and they just yanked my book from sale. It was a nightmare. So the moral of the story is, like, just really double, triple check that you're talking to the right person, because sometimes they make mistakes.
Good point. Demelza wants to talk a little more about the ads. This is Demelza she's on the site. What were the ads that you used, and if you can you give us a ballpark of how much you spent on them? Especially, she wants to know how the Bookbub ads cost-wise.
Well, let's see. I have a spreadsheet somewhere.
Oh, the spreadsheets are coming out.
I mean, we booked probably like 20 different. We probably booked like 20 different promo blasts, like, those, basically companies that have email lists and they send out emails promoting books. Probably the big ones, I would say, are I Love Vampire Novels, ENT, Fussy Librarian, Book Gorilla, Book Barbarian. But we booked everything that we could think of. Probably cost something like $1,500 to $2,000 to get all those ads booked, and we probably spent another $5,000 or so between Facebook and Bookbub advertising. And then, the cover didn't cost that much, a couple $100. So yeah, it was probably all told, it was around $8,000 but split between 20 of us. Still, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. To
I'd
get
say
that
it's
kind of
probably
push, right?
Yeah, it's totally necessary, because when you have traditional titles that make these lists, it costs publishers lots of money. They probably have contacts at Barnes and Noble and at bookstores. They probably take people out to dinner and they say, hey, what can we do to get more sales? So it's not
dinner.
yeah, right. Take me out, take me golfing, right? So they put thousands of dollars of advertising, and they have banners in all the bookstores. They do all kinds of stuff. So it's not unreasonable that we had to do a similar push to make the list. Shadowborn, the book that came out that also made the list, it was a similar investment financially. But it was just between 2 of us instead of 20 of us. So, yeah.
So that risk reward, right? You got to be willing to.
The thing about Shadowborn is, even if we hadn't made the list, we ended up. Am I still there? Okay.
Yeah. There's you.
Okay. Xavier disappeared for a second, so I was worried. But anyway, even if we didn't make the list, that's like 10,000 new fans potentially who bought our book. Or it really was. We sold 19,000 copies. That's how much it took to make a number 6 on the New York Times with Shadowborn. So it's like, even if we didn't make the list, that's a lot of new fans, and it's going to be like a 5-book series. So you make the investment back regardless.
And
but obviously,
you already have the second one up on pre-order as well.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. It should be out by end of October. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Xavier, you go next.
Okay. So was there any particular strategy that you were going about it with the marketing? Like you mentioned which sites that you were going with. Were you kind of trying whatever it was that you had available at the time, or was there a specific and driven way that you're going about this?
Well, to be honest, a lot of it was just following Rebecca's previous successful strategies for what she's done for box sets, and I'm not going to tell you all of them, but like the gist of it is you book as many ads as you can, and the Bookbub authors to participate who have like huge mailing lists. And when I say huge, it doesn't have to be like 30,000, but I think I had a minimum of 1,000 people per mailing list was my criteria. And because that way, when everybody emails on the same day, you can get that boost. I think we had something like, probably the first time we had something like 600 sales from our pre-order launch push, and I think that got us into like the 200s or 100s ranking wise. So it was pretty easy to kind of catch the Amazon algorithm so that Amazon would start pushing. Because that's what I do with my books. I don't do it on such a grand scale, maybe, but it's not necessary for me at this point to use 20 other authors' mailing lists because I have such a big fan base to begin with. Also, I was counting on the fact that I did have a large and growing fan base to help push the box set, because my books do easily 50 to 80 copies a day and around 40,000 page reads. So like, not to brag, but like as long as my name and it's on my author page, I'll get spillover from those readers.
Well, and likewise, when you're making that bundle, you want to make sure that you're aligning yourself with people of adequate success level, so you're not deterring your already established fan base.
Exactly. So like having all these other authors and their fans going to buy the box set really helped too. And that's basically it. Just you want to pick people who have decent fan bases. To be honest, not all of the authors did. Some of them had smaller fan bases than others. So like if they're smaller authors, then it's like, what can they bring to the table? Are they hardworking? Are they willing to put in extra time advertising the set or sharing it on social media? Helping out with formatting or graphic design or whatever. Everybody contributed, like every single person in the set that stayed all the way through contributed. So it wasn't like just me or Rebecca or anything.
Yeah, I think you're saying like everyone's investing time or energy in one way or another, be it with the social media side, whether it be the financial side, what have you. Everyone has to pull up their end of the bargain, whatever department it is that they have to head up.
Yeah, basically.
Now, how long do you plan on leaving it up?
Two terms, so 6 months was the deal, because I figure that way that's enough time for everybody to make their investment back at least, and then some. I mean, most of us were in it for the title, but there were a couple of us that were already USA Today, and they're more in it for the money. So I wanted to make sure there was enough time to at least make them some money in exchange for borrowing their titles, so to speak.
Do you have any plans for your own entry in the box set when it comes time that you do get to republish it?
Oh, it's still published.
Okay.
Like I didn't unpublish. None of us unpublished our stories. It's just that for the first week they had to be outside. They had to be out of Kindle Unlimited. But my book, it's the first in my series. It's still on Amazon, and now that the box set is back and is in Kindle Unlimited, all of our books are back in Kindle Unlimited as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
How long did the whole process take from woe to go?
Like when I first had the idea,
Mm-hmm.
I would say about 6 months. Because I think I first had the idea sometime in January, but probably towards the end of February was when I started getting everything together. And we were originally going to go for like a July date, and then I realized that we needed the full 3-month pre-order to try to get as many sales as possible, so I pushed it to August. And yeah, so about 6 months. I don't think everybody is going to take 6 months, but for me, that's how much it took.
Is there still work going on with it now, even after it's been out?
No, I mean, not on my end. We are planning to do another mailing list push just to tell everybody that the box set is in Kindle Unlimited now. But other than that, it's pretty much. I still have other authors in the group who share on social media, and I still tweet it every day. But other than that, it's pretty much on autopilot at this point.
Someone's popular.
Yeah, who's dinging?
It's my boyfriend's son. He wants permission to buy 100 Poke coins for 99 cents.
The Poke world that we live in.
Yes.
I know, right? Sorry about
That's
that.
perfect. Real world problems right there.
Yeah. Real world Poke problems.
I'd say it's first world problems, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So do you have plans to run another box set? Multi-author box
No. It's so much work. It's mostly just the fact that you have to manage all these people. I love everybody who stuck out and participated, but there were some times where, I wanted to wring people's necks who were like, who left or who were like, getting all special snowflakey on me, and I just, it's drama.
Snowflakey.
I don't know how Rebecca does it. She does like several a year, and she deals with the same thing, people who bail or whatever. And you can make money running these box sets, like probably if I did them and I charged, whatever fee it is, and then I took some off the top and I used the rest for advertising, I'd make some money. But I don't really need to do that to make money. What I really need to do is focus on writing more books. And as great as it was to do this box set, and I don't regret doing it. I mean, we made the New York Times. I don't know how many box sets have made the New York Times. I don't think it's been that many. It's just a time sucker. And I've had quite a few sleepless nights dealing with Amazon and people who had issues or wanted to leave and blah blah blah. And I'd rather just focus on the simpler aspects of self-publishing.
One book at a time.
Yeah. Sorta.
So now that you're at the end of it and looking back, what are some things that you would tell your beginning self that you should have done differently, or some things you could have avoided some problems or things like that?
Well, definitely, probably since not all of us were out of Kindle Unlimited, and we ended up getting attacked for that. I probably just, for future box sets, I just wouldn't announce titles, because some titles just aren't ready because they're still stuck in the 90-day enrollment period and whatever. So I would do it as a surprise box set, because that way, if anybody backs out, because that was part of the thing, is that people were backing out, and I've had to change titles several times. So I don't even think it's totally worth it to advertise all the titles. Especially because if people are buying the set expecting one title and they get another, you may as well just kind of leave it a little ambiguous and just say you're getting 21 fantasy books from these authors. You can go look at their reviews and their covers and all that. So that's probably the biggest thing I would change. It probably would have saved me a lot of headache. Yeah, I don't know what else. I mean, I wish Bookbub advertising had come along a lot sooner. That would have saved me some stress, because even though it was expensive, it was 100% worth it. Because pretty much, I did a lot of research on the New York Times and USA Today before we made this push for the list, and I would say that there are a couple rumors going around. One is that New York Times doesn't like 99-cent box sets. Another one is that they don't. I don't know. Some of these aren't relevant, but I found that a lot of them weren't true. One rumor is that they don't like politically conservative books. Another one is that they prefer romance titles over other titles. So I was thinking about all these things, and I was thinking, well. Or I've heard that they don't like indie books, and after making the list twice in 1 month, I'm not sure that these things are true. because what I think the thing is that New York Times just doesn't like it if you have all your sales on one platform or even two platforms. We got, in both cases, we got almost or more than 2,000 sales on Nook, and we got almost or more 1,000 sales on iBooks, thanks to the Bookbub ads. So I think that if you want to make New York Times, you need to try to get plus 500 on as many other sites than Amazon as possible, because New York Times did not care that we were 99 cents. They just wanted us to have enough sales on enough different platforms. And I noticed that because when we made USA Today, sorry if I'm going off track, but
no, it's good.
Yeah, when we made USA Today, I took a look at all the people ahead of us on the list, because Magic and Mayhem made number 27, and it made 13 on the New York Times. And pretty much every new release ahead of us either made the ebook list or it made the combined list, and that included the politically conservative titles that everybody says New York Times hates. So that's not true. And then the one person that did not make the list that was ahead of me, I don't remember her name, but she was an indie author, and it was a romance, and I think probably it was just because she might have actually been a little bit behind me, but she should have, either way, she probably should have made the list. And I think probably the only reason she didn't is because she might have just had all her sales on Nook and Amazon, and maybe not enough on iBooks or something. So anyway, probably if I'd known more of these things from the beginning, it might have been a little easier, and I might have gone for the New York Times push from the beginning, because we didn't decide to try for New York Times until maybe two weeks out from our release day, which is a little stressful because we needed like 5,000 more sales. So yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I had wondered if there was that initial desire for making the list in the initial idea of making the box set from the get-go.
That was my sole purpose in making the box set. Okay,
just making sure.
Because I wanted to make USA Today, and I didn't see how I could do it with my solo titles because they're in Kindle Unlimited, and I'm not comfortable being wide yet. Yeah, but I didn't really think New York Times is achievable based on all these things that I've read. Now that I've done it, I think it's actually not as hard as people think. Of course, I'm saying that after knowing it takes about at least 15,000 sales to get there. And that's during the summer. During the winter, fall, winter, and spring, it probably takes at least 20,000. So that's difficult enough in itself. But I don't think that they're as picky as people have made them out to be. So.
Good point. I lost my question. Dang it.
At least it's new insight that we don't get very often. So at least for people that are listening in, it's something for you to think about. Because as much as we can kind of theorize those types of things, there's no real concrete like evidence or documentation stating that is what they are looking for. But the more people that step forward, at least saying that, no, it's more about selling X a number on X a number of platforms, not so much as fitting any one category or whatever. It does give people a little bit more hope, which is nice.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I could be wrong. Somebody told me that they made New York Times with a third in their series, and they sold, 13 or 14,000 copies at like $3.99. And they told me that the second book in their series had sold even more, but it didn't make the New York Times list. But I didn't ask her if she'd sold enough on iBooks and Nook and Kobo or whatever. So I don't totally know if she fits my theory or not. But we were 13 on USA Today and number 6 on New York Times. I do think probably they give preference to certain people, because I've heard, for example, that like Hugh Howey, when he made the list, he sold like a huge amount of copies, was it 40,000 or something, and he outsold everybody else on the list, but he didn't get number 1 on the list. So maybe they do kind of switch the order around a little bit, but like they seem to give preference from what I've seen to new releases. Like The Girl on the Train has been on the list for like 50 weeks or something, and I guess it must just be selling incredibly well. But like Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, I've seen it on the list, but it got bumped off the list to make way for other new releases when it probably could have stayed on there. So I actually think that they're a little more fair than people give them credit for.
Yeah, and you'll definitely see the novels that have something to do with a Hollywood movie coming back in, like the one that you mentioned, Me Before You. That one did really well last year, but then when the movie came back, it had a resurgence.
Movie comes out. I think Miss Peregrine's Home for Children was probably on that list, or if not this week, it probably was last week. There's also the fact that there's a combined list and an ebook list, and I actually think that makes it easier for indies because there were, like I said, there were 2 politically conservative books that came out on the same week that Magic and Mayhem came out. They didn't make the ebook list, but they made the combined list probably just because they sold a huge amount of print copies. So because they're 2 separate lists, I think it makes it easier for us. We don't have to compete with so many other titles.
Well, and I think that'd be the difficult job for the New York Times as journalists. How do you kind of rate the numbers of what is selling when there are so many vendors out there and so many different formats of which people can consume the media, right?
Well, I think that mostly they don't count bulk orders from bookstores. Sometimes they do, and if they do, you'll see a little dagger symbol next to the title on the list if they counted bulk orders. Jesus.
Ding! Pokemon.
It's really.
Anyway, but they will if they count sales from a bookstore, that bookstore will actually be on a list that reports to the New York Times. So it's possible that you could have sales from bookstores that don't get counted because they don't report to the New York Times. But I think I was reading something about this, and I think if you're a bookstore that's on that list, that the New York Times or publishers or New York Times, they probably check in with you regularly, and they demand reports, and they probably ask for special placement for certain books and stuff like that. So you have to be willing to put up with that, I guess. But yeah.
You talked about Bookbub being so valuable. Would you say that if you hadn't had that, you guys would not have made the list?
Absolutely, we would not have made the list because we made the extended list, which we made number 13, and there's only 15 spots. So, and that was at 15,000 sales. Probably we might have made 9,000 or 10,000 sales without Bookbub, and I don't know that would have been enough. That extra 5,000 sales helped us kind of eke onto the list just barely. So, yeah.
You were taking quite a huge gamble, though, because you said that in order to get onto the lists, you need to be wide, and you guys were only wide during the pre-order and the first week of release. So you were really that was a huge gamble.
Yeah,
it was, especially because we had to take our books out of Kindle Unlimited. What I did, I did an interesting experiment. I just had my book perma-free, and it actually worked out really well for me. I booked all these ads, and even on its own, it did really well. I think in the beginning it was something like 1,000 downloads a day, and it gradually worked down to something like 600 organically, and I probably gave away something like 50,000 copies. But summer is notoriously slow for ebook sales, and I was trying to figure out what to do because my sales were going down, but perma-free actually boosted me back up to roughly where I was before summer started. So it turned out well all around for me, which was nice.
Nice indeed.
So I know that you've only made the bestseller list recently, but I'm just wondering, have you seen any benefits at all to being on the bestseller list?
Well, I got an agent. Yeah.
That might be a benefit. That might, yeah.
It depends, doesn't it?
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he gets me anything good. But no, I'm I'm now represented by Trident. They're a pretty big New York agency. I tweeted about making the bestseller list, and they tweeted me back, and they were like, "Hey, how about you come over here?" And I was like, I guess so. We can talk about it.
Buy me dinner.
Right?
And let me play golf, and then we'll talk about it.
Exactly. Anyway, so there's that, but also I've actually gotten quite a few emails and Facebook messages and visitor posts on my wall from people who've said that they found my series through the box set, and then that's how they got started. So I have been seeing sell-through from the box set for sure. And obviously the boost in Amazon author ranking was nice. I think on release week, Magic and Mayhem was something like I think we made it to like number 64 or 65 in the Kindle store, and then I made it to into the 80s in the top 100 authors. So that was nice. And since then, and then Shadowborn came out too, which gave me another boost. Since then, I've been hovering probably at 110 author ranking, and somebody pointed out to me the other day they googled the term fantasy author, and when you go ahead and Google it, it pops up. The first search result is Amazon's fantasy author list, and I'm like, so like it'll show like Brandon Sanderson and J.R.R. Tolkien and Neil Gaiman, and my name is like right under Neil Gaiman's. So, or Gaiman, I don't know how you say it.
It's Gaiman.
So it's Gaiman. I've heard it both ways, and I always get confused on that. Anyway, so now I show up. Now I show up if you Google fantasy author, which is a very broad keyword. My name pops up. So that's a nice benefit, for sure.
Now, if you Google new adult fantasy author, you got to be top of the list, I would think.
I don't know. Let's see what happens.
She's going to check right now. I almost guarantee it.
You're number 9 at the moment under fantasy author, so you're between Jim Butcher and Neil Gaiman.
That's right, Neil Gaiman.
It's a pretty good party.
That is a pretty good party.
Yeah, it is a pretty good party.
Fantasy.
When you Google new adult fantasy, my Bound by Magic is the third result on Google. So I do come up.
Who the heck would have beat you?
Goodreads and Amazon.
Okay.
They beat me. So I'm catching up. Anyway.
Yeah, I know we talked about this a little bit last time, but I was kind of curious how much that new adult, that subgenre is helping you as well. I know the box set was just fantasy, but I have a feeling that new adult is grabbing you some more attention as well, just because there's not a lot of people in that, and especially with fantasy, right? You get lots of romance, right. But so just
I think it does. I remember my agent was telling me that because I wouldn't sell the traditional rights to my series unless I got like a huge chunk of change, but if I did, we were talking about it, and he was like, you shouldn't. It would probably be better not to use new adult fantasy because libraries and bookstores have a hard time categorizing it. They're not sure if they should put it in young adult, or if they should put it in adult, or if it's too confusing for them. So in the traditional publishing world, they don't really like using new adult fantasy. But I think as far as ebooks go, it's working for me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but what he says makes sense.
Yeah, you don't see a new adult category when you walk into. It's
no,
true.
No, you really don't.
In brick and mortar bookstores, aren't there? I mean, the ones we have, you don't have sci-fi fantasy off to one side. It's all part of general fiction.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
Because Barnes and Noble definitely has a sci-fi fantasy section. But they wouldn't break it down further by like new adult. They do have a young adult section though.
Yeah, the young adult section's pretty big, really. But,
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see it breaking down the way Amazon does it with like time travel, swashbuckler,
No.
blah blah blah, all because these are, and that's I think the new age adult fantasy kind of it's more like a keyword than it is like I guess probably recognized as a genre by the traditional folk.
Oh yeah, I mean it is. Amazon does have a new adult and college fantasy subgenre, but yeah, I don't think traditional publishing really does anything with that.
Yeah, exactly. They like it condensed into it's new adult or it's fantasy or it's urban fantasy, like you had said, as off the top what you tend to be described as.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would, right? I think they would put me as urban fantasy. That's probably what they would say.
Yeah.
So now, are you going to go back with covers and such and put New York Times bestselling author on them? Or are you not going to worry about that?
It's already done. Like the first thing I did.
Yeah, as if you even thought that she wouldn't even get it done immediately.
Stupid question, Wade.
I know, but so is it extra big print?
Well, maybe not, but it's definitely there. So
nice.
I haven't done it on my print covers yet. I'll get around to that one day. But it's on the ebooks, and it's in my Amazon author bio. So yeah.
Yep, saw that.
Yeah, you gotta have a big, bold, and in Comic Sans.
Comic Sans.
I'm blinking. I
need to buy like a neon sign that like goes up right above there.
Hell yeah.
New York Times.
Yeah. There you go.
So
So how
put it on
did
your business cards?
yeah?
Sorry.
Yeah, I will have it on business cards. For sure.
So how
I
did
think
this
you had a
whole
question.
thing affect your writing and your writing time? I mean, you said it sounded like there's a lot of work. You said it's a lot of work. So what did that do to your own personal writing schedule? Do this box set.
Well, I mostly stayed on schedule, but I mean, I had some tough moments, but mostly what I try to do is I try to schedule chunks of time for writing and then chunks of time for marketing. So like when I have a new release, I try not to write because I know that I'm going to be distracted. So like I didn't do any writing when Magic and Mayhem came out. Excuse me. I don't think I did any writing when Shadowborn came out either. Basically, whenever I have a new release, I try not to write. On the day, but there were, like, during the pre-order period, I definitely had days where it's like I fell behind and stuff. But because I do such big chunks, I just figure it out. Like, I think I fell behind when I was doing the first draft of Shadowborn, and then I had to write, like, 16,000 words in one day and night to make up for it. It's just how it goes. So, yeah.
That's when you're blurry-eyed and
Pretty much.
yeah.
Coffee. Some people do Red Bull. I don't believe in Red Bull, but it's definitely.
It unfortunately exists, so
Yes.
if we believe in it or not.
You believe in it.
I didn't have another question on the follow-up there. Did Erica, Xavier? Did you?
Let's see. Oh, what advice would you give to authors considering putting together a multi-author box set?
Well, I don't know. There's much that I haven't said yet, but pretty much choose your people wisely. Like choose who you're gonna work with. Like ideally they've worked on collaborations before. It doesn't have to be a box set, but it is nice if they have iBooks reps who they can contact for doing features, or if they have big mailing lists, or if they're good with certain promo things. So you definitely, it's mostly about who you're working with, because if you have authors with decent audiences, it helps a lot. And just try not to skimp on your budget too much. If you feel like you're not going to be able to come up with an extra couple $1,000s when push comes to shove, then it might not be worth doing. Just because you invest all this money and stuff, and then if you don't make any list, it sucks. because that was 3 months of effort and time. So like I would say like don't do this until you're ready to do it.
That makes perfect sense. So it does, doesn't it? Do it until you're ready to do it.
Smart.
Like, don't do this on a shoestring budget is what I'm saying.
Yeah. That was going to be my follow-up. I'm like, so how much money did you decide at the beginning this was going to cost all up?
Well,
and did it cost that in the end?
Well, I mean, we had like a $4,000 budget roughly. Like it had everybody did a $250 buy-in. But no, it cost us double. I had everybody pitch in another $200-ish. And not everybody could. One of my co-authors, he saved our butts and he pitched in almost an extra $2,000 to make it happen. And obviously, the extra money that everybody pitched in when our royalties come in, they get that money back off the top. So he'll get his $2,000 back before we pay out royalties. So it's not like there's no return on the risk. But yeah, like I said, don't expect to pay a $250 buy-in and then never worry about it again. You may have to put in more money, and you're gonna have to be okay with that. But thankfully, $250 split between 20 people is a lot more affordable than $10,000 split between 2 people.
And that brings up a question about how are you going to handle the tax for all of these people?
The tax? Well, they basically have to give me W-9s, and I pay through PayPal because PayPal, if I pay them through PayPal, PayPal will take care of the 1099s. So I don't pay tax on anything that I pay to them. I just pay tax on anything that I keep.
Okay, cool.
It's pretty simple.
Yep. I just have one more question. Did Kobo do anything for you guys, or was it one of your poor performing ones?
I don't know what to say about Kobo. Mark from Kobo is very nice, but Kobo's a disaster in my opinion. You can't track pre-order sales, and I feel like they don't even accurately report your sales because I think maybe we got 80 sales from Kobo. Maybe, I think with Magic and Mayhem might have been 50 sales, and I put money into Facebook and Bookbub advertising. Probably spent a couple $100. We should have gotten more than 80 sales. And with Shadowborn specifically, I think we invested over $1,000 into Kobo, and we ended up with 80 U.S. sales. And, we were in the top 5 in the whole Kobo store for weeks. So I figured that has to mean we're getting maybe 50 sales a day or something, or 20 sales a day, something. But we ended up with 80 sales, and I was like, what the hell? We spent a good chunk of change driving sales towards Kobo, and unfortunately, we didn't see a return on that investment. So either it's really easy to make the top 5 in the Kobo store, or Kobo somehow isn't actually reporting sales accurately. I don't know which one it is. It's unfortunate because
both of them are bad options.
Both of them are bad options.
I mean,
it does suck because I really wanted to get at least 500 on all platforms. And also, the thing with Shadowborn was that I was hoping that if it did well enough that we could stay wide with the series, because I would love to establish a wide presence. But in the end, Nook was the only platform that really did well for us outside of our new release Week Blast. We continued to stay in the top 100 for at least for the next week after the ad stopped running. So we gained momentum on Nook, but definitely nothing on Kobo, and iBooks just dropped off to maybe 20 sales a day, which for some people is probably great, but for me it was just it's not worth not being in Kindle Unlimited. So I figure maybe by the time we get to book 3, I'll try out being wide again. But Kobo unfortunately doesn't seem to be worth the time. And also, somebody somebody posted in a group that like when you publish on Kobo, there's like some French site that your books also go to, and it will publish your stuff on other sites, and you don't really have control over that. And they said that what happened to them was that they unpublished on Kobo, and then they got like a warning from Amazon because they found their stuff on Amazon's other books. And so like that's not really great for me. Like it sounds like I don't want to badmouth Kobo, but it doesn't really give me an incentive to stay there if there's so many worries associated with selling my books on there.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, that's happened with a lot of people. I think what you can usually do is email Amazon back and say I've requested it be removed, and from Kobo, and it's not yet been removed from one of Kobo's sites or something. And they usually go, oh, that's okay. Usually,
Sure.
I don't know if they do it every time, but yeah.
I remember seeing an article from somebody though, like maybe 2 or 3 months ago, saying that literally like they were banned from using KDP Select because their book, I think they had published with Smashwords or something, which I hear is really bad for that kind of thing because you end up everywhere. On all kinds of places. And they said like it happened 3 times or something where Amazon found that they were on another site, and obviously they didn't know and they took it down, but like the 3rd time Amazon said, sorry, you violated this too many times, and they just closed the account, and now they can't publish with KDP Select. So I don't love how heavy-handed Amazon is with this, but it's scary. It's like,
well,
I
at least
don't
they
like
got 3
3 strikes.
I mean, that's better than some places, isn't it?
Well, sure, but it's like if you don't even know that your book is on someplace 3 different times, and then now, you know, I make a lot of money off Kindle Unlimited. If that happened to me, I'd be devastated. So.
Yeah.
Good point.
It's always good to Google your book to see where it is.
Yeah, that's
before you
true.
go on to select, just in case. And then you can
Right?
badger, Smashwords,
Somehow it seems
or wherever to
Amazon.
remove it.
Right. Somehow it seems Amazon doesn't care about the pirating sites, though. Like, they won't bust you if somebody's pirated your book.
Well, there's no way you can control that one, even if you do try and get everything removed.
Yeah.
As long as you're not making money somewhere else, that's all they care about.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
But, like, I feel like, they won't let you use Insta Freebie, which is something I would love to do. But whatever, it's not. I guess it's not really the point. I was just having a thought.
Well, that's a good thought to end on. We're at the top of the hour. Jasmine had a thought. It was good. So, Jasmine, thank you for coming on. Though it was again very nice to talk to you and very insightful. So we do appreciate you taking the time and teaching us some stuff. I don't know if I want to take on a box set after talking to you, though, but that sounds like too much work.
It's a lot of work. But no, it's great. It's great talking to you guys again. Appreciate it.
So just in case anybody can't find you, which I can't believe because you're right there by Neil Gaiman, but, you know, where would people go if they want to look for your books?
Well, you can find me at www.jasminewalt.com. That's my website. And if you Google my name on Amazon, I'll come right up. I'm on Facebook, too, under Jasmine Walt. My Twitter is @Jasmine_writes. You can find me on Goodreads under the same name. Those are the main places, I'd say.
Easy enough to find you. Yes.
Yeah.
Erica, I think you have some announcements on the SPRT world.
Yep. Okay, we've got 2 announcements for SPRT. First is we're currently running the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror free ebooks and giveaway. That's running until the end of the 26th of August. Just go to the website selfpublishingroundtable.com, and there's a pretty little banner at the top you can click on to go do all of that. So if you want some freebies, go for it. Next month we're running the romance promo, so if you want some information about that, go onto our website and it's in the blog post section, all the information there. And we've also partnered with Indie Author Day, which is apparently on the 8th of October of this year. And basically, it's libraries across America and Canada are inviting indies to come over and hang out and do some things and workshops and stuff like that. So they're opening their doors to indie authors. So if you go to the website indieauthorday.com, you can see what libraries are currently offering for indies to come in, and also what's actually happening on that day. So, yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. Yes,
Cool.
excellent. Make sure everybody, guys, join us again next week. We got a news roundup coming up next Thursday. So, and we love our live viewers. What's that?
With Zoe York.
What, Zoe York? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yep.
with Zoe York. And maybe Xavier's cat will be, or dog, or something.
Yeah, that was a
And a
cat.
cat.
She won't leave me alone.
Oh.
All right. Well, again, Jasmine, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. If anybody wants to do an after party, we will put a link on the website. Gosh, I've been waiting to say this for a while. Xavier, you got anything to say? After you take a big long drink?
Good night, internets.